What is going on, guys? Welcome back to another episode of Kings of Lethal. Today, I'm going to bring you guys actually an impromptu deck tech. It's one of my newest decks, one of my favorite decks, actually. It is an Azurius color, so blue-white, and I aptly named it Tap Tap Revolution. Pretty much the commanders, as you'll be seeing, are RHODA and TIMIN. They are two partner commanders that came out in the previous Spirit Commander Precon. At first, when I first glanced, I didn't really think anything of them. I had just made a pretty basic generic Spirit Tribal, and then when I read the cards some more, I was like, you know what, these actually might be pretty fun. And then, if you obviously you guys don't know me quite yet, the partner commander is not really my favorite thing in Magic, so I always try and challenge myself. For example, red's not my favorite color. I made two mono red commander decks. Partners weren't really my thing. I did have a black green Death Touch kind of like tribal deck for a while there. I did enjoy playing that, but I've had this one now for probably about a month or two now, and it's one of my favorite. I actually took it recently to my local LGS for a high-powered turn 0, not quite CEDH tournament, and I placed second place in the pod that I was playing with. It's a fun deck, one of my favorites. I hope you guys enjoy. Alright guys, we're going to go ahead and get into this deck tech now. As I did say, the commanders are RHODA Geist Avenger and TIMIN Youthful Geist. RHODA is a 3 and a white, so 4 CMC for a legendary creature, human soldier. Partner with TIMIN Youthful Geist. He does have vigilance, and whenever a creature an opponent controls becomes tapped, if it isn't being declared as an attacker, put a +1/+1 counter on RHODA Geist Avenger. First thing I like this thing is obviously this is a pseudo Voltron. You want to get this guy big. You want to get him just massive. With that vigilance, he's going to go ahead and stay up, so you can go ahead and block whatever you have coming in on you in your next turn, and just keep hitting and pounding. Most people don't really pay attention to him too much until he starts to get kind of 5, 6. Once he gets up to that range, then people are like, oh boy. He does kind of shut down your mana dorks. They don't really want to be tapping their mana dorks very often because he's just going to get bigger every time you do that. Fun commander, one of my favorites to play. And then we have his partner commander, again, TIMIN Youthful Geist. He has partnered with RHODA, flying, and then at the beginning of each combat, tap up to 1 target creature. This is the one that tends to get targeted more by my opponents as far as like spot removal, or they just don't want it there. The reason being is he's the more oppressive of the two. His ability does tap a creature each combat, which obviously boosts up RHODA, get him bigger, and just tapping people's stuff down. They don't really like that. They want to swing with their creatures. They want to do their fun stuff, and when I'm stopping them from doing that, it gets kind of annoying. I do try and play a little bit of politics with this deck, and the fact that okay, hey guys, you don't want that Zakama there. Let me go ahead and tap that down for you, and feel free to swing away over at Zakama and the big boys over there. You don't want something else in the way, that pesky flyer or that pesky creature that has reach. Let me go ahead and tap that down for you so it can't block you or take care of your stuff for you. The Death Toucher, whatever the case may be. That's why RHODA and TIMIN are one of my favorite decks to play with. Just oppressive and just mean. Getting into the meat and potatoes now of the deck, I'm going to go ahead and move these two off to the side. Okay, we're going to go ahead and start with creatures first. Alright, so with the creatures, the biggest CMC creature I have in the deck is Willbreaker. 3 and 2 blue, so 5 drop. If you don't know what Willbreaker does, hopefully you never have to find out. It is pretty mean and, again, oppressive. The whole point of this deck is it has a pseudo stacks ability to it. With all that tapping stuff, and there is, as you'll see later on, there is some stuff that you have to, pay extra to do whatever. But Willbreaker, creature, human, wizard, whenever a creature an opponent controls becomes the target of a spell or ability you control, gain control of that creature for as long as you control Willbreaker. Again, so if I'm taking control of all their stuff, all you gotta do is get rid of Willbreaker and it goes back to everybody. But this thing is just me. When you play it, it does take immediate attention away from anything else on the board, including, again, I'm going to use Zakama as an example. Zakama's mean and he's big, but most people are going to want this gone because they want to keep their stuff out on the board to try and deal with Zakama on their own. Again, I try and play political with this deck quite a bit. Maybe if you don't target me or if you help me out, I won't target your stuff to gain control of it. That's one of my favorite parts about Commander is the politics. But Willbreaker, fun card, 2/3, Willbreaker, Human Wizard. Pretty fun card. Moving on to the next one. I run a Fallow Sage, which is a 3 and a blue, so 4-drop CMC, creature, Merfolk Wizard for a 2/2. Whenever Fallow Sage becomes tapped, you may draw a card. So just being able to play Timin's ability, and if all my opponent's stuff is tapped out, or I'm not really worried about what they got going on, I can always tap my own creatures because it just says tap target creature. Yes, RHODA won't get the boost for this, but I get to draw a card, and who doesn't like drawing extra cards and taking the time to be able to play more fun stuff? Pretty simple and explainable there. Windborn Muse, one of my favorite muses in the game. 3 and a white so it's a 4-drop creature spirit with flying, and creatures can't attack you unless their controller pays 2 for each creature they control that's attacking you. So again, this is pretty much your propaganda or your ghostly prison. This is part of the taxing, part of the stacks part of the deck. So not only am I tapping your stuff down, whatever you do have up, if you do want to swing it in at me, pretty much trying to build that pillow fort. It's going to take quite a bit, for you to penetrate the walls there and get yourself in if you can. I do play a lot of stuff like counters, counter to, unless you pay whatever, stuff like that. So just a fun card. Again, staxing makes it kind of harder for them to hit me and get in there and do stuff. All right, the next creature I have up is Niblis of the Frost, 2 and 2 blue, creature spirit, flying. He has prowess. He's a 3/3, and he has prowess. Whenever I cast a non-creature spell, this creature gets +1/+1 to end turn, so he just becomes bigger. If I cast non-creature spells, whenever you cast an instant or sorcery spell, tap target creature an opponent controls. That creature doesn't tap during its controller's next untap step. So again, this just plays it into RHODA, right? This is a Voltron deck for what it is worth. And the whole point is to get RHODA as big as I can, give him some kind of protection, and just let him punch faces. So if I'm able to tap stuff down whenever I play an instant or sorcery spell, I do run quite a bit of instant sorceries in this deck. Tap a creature as a result of casting that instant or sorcery, which is just going to help benefit me. The next one here is Fate Stitcher. Fate Stitcher, as I'm sure you guys are all aware, but if not, 3 and a blue, so another 4 CMC creature for a zombie wizard. I can tap it, and I may tap or untap another target permanent. Again, this is pretty much in the deck. I can tap it to tap one of your stuff, or I can tap it to untap my Soul Ring, or whatever else I could, a land, if I need be. Then it also has Unearth for 1, so I return this card from my graveyard to play. It gains haste, and then remove it from the game at the end of turn, or if it would leave play, Unearth only as a sorcery. Pretty fun card to play with. It's pretty much just in there for that tech, tap it and untap, or tap it to tap. Again, helping boost RHODA, or again, untap my stuff to play more stuff. The next creature up is Dream Shackle Geist. 1 and 2 blue, so 3 CMC creature for spirit. Flying. At the beginning of combat on your turn, choose up to 1. Tap target creature. Target creature doesn't untap during its controller's next untap step. So a fun little combo piece I can do with TIMIN is I can tap down. Again, we'll just use Zakama. Tap down Zakama, who likes tap all those lands and do fun stuff. So tap down Zakama, and then I can then choose the next part of my stack here to have Dream Shackle, make sure it doesn't untap during their next untap step. Or I can choose another creature, tap that down, and just give RHODA another +1/+1 counter. Fun card, flying 3/1, can't beat it for 3 CMC. The next card I have is Gadwick the Wizened, X in 3 blue, legendary creature human wizard for 3/3. When Gadwick the Wizened enters the battlefield, draw X cards. Whenever you cast a blue spell, tap target permanent, non-land permanent, an opponent controls. So he's on there to kind of give me a little bit of draw if I need a little bit of draw to kind of try and find an answer. And then he's also in there because, again, when I play a blue spell, I can tap a target permanent an opponent controls. Again, just helping RHODA get beefy and boosted. If you guys are catching the theme here, the whole point of it, again, is Voltron. Tap down creatures, get RHODA bigger, swing in, punch face, and then use the stacks, the pseudo stacks, to kind of make it harder for them to get in on me. Next card up here is Gideon's Avenger, 1 and 2 white, creature human soldier. For a 2/2, whenever a creature an opponent controls becomes tapped, put a +1/+1 counter on Gideon's Avenger. Pretty much he is a backup RHODA. He gets bigger whenever a creature's tapped, even if it is declared as an attacker. So anytime the creatures are getting tapped, he's just going to be getting bigger and bigger. He doesn't come with trample, and it's also not commander damage, but it's just in there because he will get huge a lot quicker than some people would actually think. And they don't really pay attention to it until it's almost like Mana Gorge or Hydra, when next thing you know it's a 7/7, and you're like, okay, that thing got big. What happened? Next up, Kelpie Guide, one of my favorite cards in Magic. 2 and a blue, creature beast, 2/2. I can tap it to untap another target permanent I control, or I can tap it to tap target permanent, activate only if you control 8 or more lands. Again, he's in there pretty much to help tap down stuff for RHODA to get RHODA bigger. Pretty self-explanatory. Nevillegast Herald, 2 and a blue, another 3 CMC, creature spirit. He is a 2/1 with flash and flying, so again, with flash you can cast this in at any time, like an instant. Whenever Nevillegast Herald or another spirit enters the battlefield under your control, tap target creature an opponent controls. I don't really run many spirits in the deck. So this is one of the cards that I wouldn't mind possibly taking out if something else came along. He's in there pretty much just for that ability. Whenever I do cast a spirit, again, TIMIN is a spirit, so if I'm able to cast him multiple times, I get to tap down stuff when they enter the battlefield. Definitely a card that could be taken out, but he's in there just because it's kind of techy. Next up is Distracting Geist, 2 and a white. Creature Spirit, 2/1. Whenever Distracting Geist attacks, tap target creature defending player controls, and then you can disturb it for 4 and a white. I'll go ahead and read that disturb here in a second. But pretty much just declare him as an attacker. Doesn't even have to deal damage. Once I declare it as an attacker, I get to tap something down, which again helps make RHODA bigger. And then the back side of it, let me go ahead and flip it around here for you real quick. The back side is Clever Distraction, which is an enchantment aura. Enchant creature. Enchanted creature has, whenever this creature attacks, tap target creature defending player controls. If Clever Distraction would be put into a graveyard from anywhere, exile it instead. So pretty much while Distracting Geist is in the graveyard, I can disturb it for 5. So pay a 4 and a white, and then I can equip this to RHODA. So whenever RHODA attacks, now I can tap down creatures, which just is going to help RHODA get bigger. That's the purpose of having this card in the deck. Next up is going to be Strike Legionnaire, 1 and a white, so 2-drop for a creature soldier for a 1/2. Strike Legionnaire doesn't untap during your untap step. Whenever another creature comes into play, untap Strike Legionnaire. Then I can tap target creature. I can tap Sunstrike, tap target creature with converted mana cost 3 or less. So he's in there again. I tap him to tap a creature. I cast a creature. I untap him. He's in there again, just to kind of one of those fun ones where I can just tap to get RHODA bigger. That's his purpose. Topolgeist, probably one of my most underrated cards in the deck. 1 drop, so 1 CMC. Turn 1 cards never hated on. But I like to actually cast him later on because of his Delirium ability, which I'll get into here. So he's a creature spirit, 1/1 flying. When Topolgeist enters the battlefield, tap target creature and opponent controls, again helping RHODA get bigger. And then his Delirium, at the beginning of each opponent's upkeep, if there are 4 or more card types among cards in my graveyard, tap target creature that player controls. So every upkeep, if Delirium is active, I get to tap a creature, and then once you move into your combat step, even if you don't want to declare an attacker, or you have no creatures to attack with, I can tap something else down in your combat phase. So that's pretty much helping me get possibly 2 taps in one turn if I have TIMIN and Topplegeist out, which again helps RHODA get bigger faster. And last but not least, who doesn't like Mother of Ruins? Again, a 1-drop CMC for a white, creature, human cleric for a 1/1. Tap Mother of Ruins, target creature you control gains protection from the color of your choice until end of turn. This is in there pretty much just for protection for RHODA or for TIMIN, whoever needs it at that time. And then I like having cards like Kelpie Guide to untap it, so I can just, okay, you want to target with something else, go ahead and tap it, give it protection. I love Mother of Ruins, awesome card. Pretty expensive card, but if you can get your hands on one, definitely a card I recommend going into a white deck if you run white. And that does it for the creatures. Moving on to the enchantments. All right, a little glare there on the enchantments, but go ahead and pull them into view here for you. This is probably, I think this is the second highest CMC I have in my deck, which is 7, so 5 and 2 blue for Kiora, Best the Sea God. It's a saga, so if you don't know, sagas continue on, so you get 1, 2, and 3 for the lower counters. Each upkeep, you get to move on down the chain here. The first one is create a 8/8 blue Kraken creature token with hexproof, which is just awesome. You're probably thinking like, okay, what does that have to do with the tap? It doesn't. It's just a big 8/8 hexproof meanie that's just there. Step 2, however, tap all non-land permanents target opponent's control or target opponent controls. They don't untap during their controller's next untap step. So pretty much, if you have a bunch of creatures, I'm tapping all your stuff. I don't even care if you're next in line or if you're even my target. If I have RHODA out and you have at least, if you have the most creatures, I'm tapping all of your stuff because I want RHODA to get bigger so I can swing it and punch. And then the third and final one, gain control of target permanent and opponent controls, untap it. That's just, again, will breaker. Just give me whatever your best thing is, I'm taking it. Alright, next one up here is Temporal Distortion, 3 and 2 blue, so 5 CMC. Whenever a creature or land becomes tapped, put an Hourglass counter on it. Permanents with an Hourglass counter on them don't untap during their controller's untap step. At the beginning of each player's upkeep, remove all Hourglass counters from permanents that player controls. I actually had this card in my hand in the tournament where I placed second, and I believe if I would have played this earlier, I would have been able to take down Zakama, but I made the mistake of not reading the card, okay? This card is kind of new to my deck, and I didn't really read it. I just, Zakama was out there. I was kind of trying to figure out how to get rid of Zakama. My focus was on target removal, and as you all know, Zakama requires you to tap lands to do abilities. If I would have played this, he would have had to have tapped his lands, which would have given him the Hourglass counters to even do any of his abilities, and would have made sure that they don't untap during their controller's next untap step. A little bit misplay on me, but again, it's here for the stacksy part of it. You have to wait another turn to untap whatever you do tap. Kind of jank, but that's what it's there for. Perihelion Accord, 3, a white and a blue. Whenever a creature an opponent controls becomes tapped, put a shield counter on Perihelion Accord. Remove a shield counter from Perihelion Accord. Prevent the next 1 damage that would be dealt to you this turn. That is any kind of damage, combat, or just any kind of burn damage. This thing gets more counters on it than you would probably think it does, because again, it's whenever a creature an opponent controls becomes tapped. That's as a result of combat. Even if the creature is not coming at me, I get to put a counter on it. And if you don't get rid of this enchantment by 2 or 3 turns of it being out, I can usually prevent about at least up to 12 damage, which is pretty nice. Again, kind of shields up. So even if I do let you swing in, or you're able to pay for all of my stacksiness, I can probably prevent that damage regardless. Frozen Aether, if you haven't played against this card, it's kind of annoying. 3 and a blue. Artifacts, creatures, and lands your opponent's control come into play tapped. This does not trigger RHODA if they come into play tapped. However, again, Staxy, it makes you have to wait more time to be able to play your cards. They do come in, they will hit the board or whatever. But if a Soul Ring is coming in tapped, you're not able to use it until your next turn. Again, just more stacks, you kind of handcuffing the opponents. Smothering Tithe, I don't even know if I really need to talk about this one, but Smothering Tithe is probably one of my favorite white cards in EDH or in Magic. 3 and a white, if I'm using it. If I'm playing against it, I hate it. But again, this is part of the stackiness here. So whenever an opponent draws a card, that player may tap or may pay 2. If that player doesn't, you create a colorless treasure artifact token with tap, sacrifices artifact, add 1 mana of any color. It's just there mainly for the stacks, and obviously if you don't pay it, I'm going to get mana, which then I can use to play more dumb stuff. 9 times out of 10 people pay the 2 unless they can't, or they can't, or they just don't want to because they have other plans. But love it. If you don't have it, recommend getting it. Next up is Citadel Siege, 2 and 2 white for an enchantment. Excuse me. At Citadel Siege, enter the battlefield. Choose Cons or Dragons. Cons. At the beginning of combat on your turn, put 2 +1/+1 counters on target creature you control. Dragons. At the beginning of combat on each opponent's turn, tap target creature that player controls. Gee, I wonder which one I'm choosing. Dragons. So at the beginning of each combat on each opponent's turn, tap target creature that player controls. It's essentially TIMIN. This only taps a creature that player controls, whereas TIMIN can tap whatever I want. But again, it's there. Help make RHODA bigger. All right. Opposition, 2 and 2 blue, 4 CMC enchantment. Tap an untapped creature you control. Tap target artifact, creature, or land. So again, I can tap down one of my creatures, any creature, because this isn't an aura. This is just out there. I can tap whatever creature I have on the board that I'm not really using at the time, and I can tap a creature, an artifact, or a land. I don't know what more needs to be said about that. It's pretty straightforward. Fun card. Don't really get to see it much in gameplay because it gets removed pretty quick, but I do love having it. Ristic Study, another one. This is like Smothering Tithe, more of your stack stuff here. 2 and a blue. Whenever an opponent casts a spell, you may draw a card unless that player pays 1. Both people pay the 1. Shout out to my buddies Spotify, pay the 1. Go check it out. My buddy Sonny, my buddy Lance, they got great content. They talk about a lot of fun stuff. Go check them out. Pay the 1. Always pay the 1. Unless you're playing against me and I have Ristic Study, then never pay because I want to draw cards. Verity Circle, 2 and a blue. Whenever a creature an opponent controls becomes tapped, if it isn't being declared as an attacker, you may draw a card. Tap 4 and a blue, tap target creature without flying. This card pairs extremely well with the deck. It did come in the pre-con with them. Your TIMIN taps down a creature, RHODA gets bigger, you draw a card. It's synergy. I love synergy. I try to build up most of my decks with some kind of synergy. One of my favorite cards in the deck. Ghostly Prison. Creatures can't attack you unless they controller pays 2 or more for each of the creature attacking you. 2 and a white, 3 CMC. Love the card. Propaganda, the exact same thing except in blue. Creatures can't attack you unless your controller pays 2 for each creature attacking you. Again, stacks. You want to hit me, you got to pay. If you don't pay, no hit. Love the cards. Next one up here is Grasp of the Harrowmancer. 1 and a white. It is an aura. Enchant creature. Enchant creature gets +1/+1 and has whenever this creature attacks, tap target creature defending player controls. So it's just like that one creature I had with Disturb. It's the same thing, except this one is just the aura for a lot less CMC. This is pretty much only meant to go on RHODA, so when it is declared as an attacker, he's not only going to get himself boosted up there, but if I have TIMIN out, I can tap something else down, so it's just double your fun, double your pleasure. Ray of Frost, 1 and a blue, another aura, flash, so again, cast it whenever I feel like it. Enchant creature. Whenever Ray of Frost enters the battlefield, if enchanted creature is red, tap it. As long as enchanted creature is red, it loses all abilities. Enchanted creature doesn't untap during its controller's untap step. So the red stuff, not really in there. My brother does run a mono red dragons deck, which is one of the reasons why this went in there, but that's not the main reason. The main reason is for that last part there. Enchanted creature doesn't untap during its controller's untap step. So pretty much tap it down with TIMIN, and then it stays tapped, and it's neutralized, and it's no longer a threat. Narcolepsy, 1 and a blue. Another aura, enchant creature. At the beginning of each upkeep, if enchanted creature is untapped, tap it. This card's awesome. Again, tapping stuff on each upkeep if you're able to untap itself. What I like to do is I like to hold on to this card until somebody plays like a Seedborn Muse or something that helped, something that can untap itself. Put Narcolepsy on it. Now it's going to untap, and then it just taps down at every upkeep, which just makes RHODA bigger on everybody's upkeep, and then it gets back to me, and RHODA's massive. Last one, Betrayal, another aura. It just says enchant creature, but this is an old aura. For 1 blue, play only on a creature an opponent controls. If enchanted creature becomes tapped, draw a card. So you got those mana dorks out there. That's fine. Go ahead and tap it. I don't mind you tapping it for that mana, but when you do tap it, I'm going to go ahead and draw a card, give me another resource to play. That's pretty much what it does. That's pretty much what it's there for. If RHODA's out, he's going to get bigger. Or if I decide to tap it and you don't want to pay, you don't want to tap it for whatever, now I'm going to draw regardless. And that was the enchantments. Moving on to, I'm going to go ahead and go to artifacts, which is going to be next here, and then we'll do instants and then sorcery. So artifacts are up next. First artifact we're going to talk about here is Norn Annex for 3 and 2 white. It is Phyrexian white, so if you're not sure on how that works, Phyrexian white can be paid with either white or 2 life. So it's pretty much 3 and 4 life. Get you Norn's Annex. Creatures can't attack you or planeswalker you control unless their controller pays Phyrexian white for each of those creatures. So if they don't have white to pay, it only costs 1 white to do it, unless they don't run white, and then they have to pay 2 life to hit you for each creature. So if you got Propaganda, Ghostly Prison, Seedborn Muse up right there, that's 6 mana per creature attacking you. And then if you have Norn's Annex out, possibly 7 mana or 6 mana and 2 life. Just an amazing card. Again, the whole point of this deck is if you want to hit me, you're going to have to spend some resources to do so. Commander Sphere, almost a Commander staple. I'm actually trying to get away from some of these cards because, yes, while they are fun, in my opinion, there are a lot better cards out there that may be underappreciated. It does tap and give you 1 mana of any color in your commander's color identity, and then you can sacrifice a draw card, so don't sleep on that part of it. Weird part is I see this card in some people's mono-color commander decks. I'm not going to knock you for it, but if you have a mono-color commander deck, there's no point of playing a card like Arcane Cigna or Commander Sphere unless you really want that draw card for sacrificing it, because, I mean, it's just going to give you the red. So it is a way to ramp in a color that may not be able to ramp, but, to each their own. I'm not telling you how to play it. It's just my personal opinions. Azorius Locket, tap it to add a white or a blue. It's a 3-drop. Or you can tap 4 white or blue cards, or blue mana, sacrifice Azorius Locket, draw 2 cards. Never really use it for that, you just use it for the ramp. Give me that white or blue to help me cast stuff. Tangle Web, 3-drop artifact, one of my favorite cards. It has Fading 4. This artifact comes into play with 4 fade counters on it. At the beginning of your upkeep, remove a fade counter from it. If you can't, sacrifice it. At the beginning of each player's upkeep, that player taps an untapped artifact, creature, or land he or she controls for each fade counter on Tangle Web. This thing is oppressive. It gets mean. It's really annoying, but it's fun to play. Alright guys, sorry about that. Just got a random phone call in the middle of recording, but it's okay. We're moving on. Arcane Cigna. Again, I was just talking about this card, 2-drop artifact. Don't sleep on it. It is a great card to have, especially in colors where ramp is not really a thing that you do. But tap it, add 1 mana of any color in your commander's color identity. Just like Commander Sphere, except you don't get the ability to sack it and draw a card. Azuria Signet, 2-drop artifact, tap 1 and it, and then you add a blue and a white. Love these kind of cards. Love these kind of lands that where you pretty much tap it and get 2 for the price of 1. It's pretty fun. Thought Vessel. Again, I do plan on trying to draw a little bit here. Not really the main focus of the deck, but it's always good to have a no maximum hand size, and then this taps for 1 extra mana if you need it. And then obviously Soul Ring. What kind of deck is a commander deck if it doesn't have Soul Ring? All right, moving on to instants. Mystic Confluence, 3 and 2 blue for an instant. Choose 3. You may choose the same same mode more than once. Counter target spell unless the controller can pay 3. Return target creature to its owner's hand. Draw a card. So for 5 mana, you can cast this and choose one of each. Usually, this is cast as a counter spell. And it is a little stacksy, so if the opponent doesn't have 3 mana, or if they do, you can choose that same mode twice to go ahead and counter it twice, and they have to either pay 3 to negate 1, which they normally don't do. So it's going to be whatever you're trying to get countered will usually be countered. And then I usually use the draw card. Very rarely the return target creature to its owner's hand, but that is an awesome ability to have there. Don't sleep on it. Every mode on here, solid card. Love this card. Return the Dust, 2 and 2 white. Exile target artifact or enchantment. If you cast a spell during your main phase, you may exile up to 1 other target artifact or enchantment. The reason why I love this card is because it's a target removal, and it is exile, which gets you around indestructible. Hey, Blightsteel Colossus, I don't like you there. I'm going to exile you because you are an artifact. Get out of my game. And then if you cast this card on your main phase 1 or main phase 2, you get to do it twice. Get rid of 2 things for 4 CMC. I love it. That's why it's in here. Okay, a Chroma's Will, 3 and a white. Choose 1. If you control a commander as you cast a spell, you may choose both. So again, I have partners, so if either one of them is out here, I can choose both. So what they do is it's creatures you control gain flying, vigilance, and double strike until end of turn. And the other mode is creatures you control gain lifelink, indestructible, and protection from all colors until end of turn. Solid card. It's pretty much there for the protection portion. Even if my commander is not out, I'm usually going to be giving them indestructible, trying to save them from a board wipe. Disallow, 1 and 2 blue. One of my favorite counter cards. Counter target spell, activated ability, or triggered ability. Reason why this is one of my favorites is, again, you either counter target spell, you counter the activated or the triggered ability. Not many cards do that. If they do, it's usually one or the other, not both. This just gives you an option to do any of those modes. It's a solid card. I love this card. Top of the statue, 2 and a white. Tap target permanent. If it's an artifact, destroy it, then draw a card. Again, tap in something, tap a creature. RHODA is going to get bigger, and if it's an artifact creature, not only will it be tapped, it's going to get destroyed, and I get to draw a card. Love it. All right, guys, back to it. Fierce Guardianship, 2 and a blue. If you control a commander, you may cast a spell without paying its mana cost. Counter target non-creature spell. I love this card. It came out in the I believe it was the Ikoria precons. Each of them had one of those really awesome if you have your commander, it costs nothing card. This one is awesome. I believe this card is somewhere in like $30 to $40 range now. It's just a super awesome. It's a counter spell, and you can cast it for free if you have a commander. Which in this case, I have possibly 2 commanders to choose from. Just a really awesome counter spell. So now we got Depose or Deploy. I'll go ahead and turn this card for you so you can kind of take a look at it. So the one I usually cast is the Depose, which is the 1 and a white or a blue. Tap target creature, draw a card. But it does have the Deploy part, which is 2, a white and a blue. Create 2 1/1 color stop artifact creature tokens with flying. Then you may gain 1 life for each creature you control. That is a pretty solid ability. I've only used this one like once or twice because I was in dire need of some life. But it is just a great card to have. I love it. Alright, the next one here is going to be Counterspell, which is going to be 2 blue. Counterspell is Counterspell. If you don't know what this card does, I love the fact that I got one of these all arts for it, but counter target spell. Pay 2 blue, counter whatever you feel like countering. Another counter spell here for you, Dovin's Veto, another great one, a white and a blue. This spell can't be countered, and then counter target non-creature spell. Keep in mind this is a non-creature spell. I made that mistake in the game. I just tried to counter a creature, and they were like, wait. And I was like, oh, you're right. Sorry about that. Again, read the card. Great counter to have nonetheless. Condemn for 1 white. Put target attacking creature on the bottom of its owner's library. Its controller gains life equal to its toughness. Just a great card. Get rid of it. Get rid of that creature. Yeah, they're going to gain life, but whatever. That creature's gone now. Opt 1 blue, scry 1, and then draw a card. So scry lets you look at the top card of your deck. If you don't like it, put it to the bottom. If you like it, keep it on top and draw it. Brainstorm, draw 3 cards, then put 2 cards from your hand on top of your library in any order. So pretty much this allows you to just kind of look through the top 3, try and find that quick answer, or if you just start looking for something, like if a lot happens with this deck, usually I'm kind of mana stuck early game, and I just rifle through the first top 3 and try and get myself a land to play. Swords to Plowshare. Exile target creature. Its controller gains life equal to its power. Exiling is one of my favorite things in the game because it gets around that pesky indestructible. I love Swords to Plowshare. Bluster Squall, 1 blue. Tap target creature you don't control. However, this is in there for the overload. Yes, that is a solid ability because of TIMIN or an RHODA. I want to get RHODA bigger. But Bluster Squall, overload for 3 and a blue. Pretty much you remove the word target and then replace it with each. So tap each creature you don't control. I love Bluster Squall. 4 mana to tap every creature on the board except mine. And then RHODA's just going to get massive. I usually like to play this card at the end of the person's turn before mine and just tap whatever they have that's not tapped. And then just get RHODA bigger, and then RHODA's coming in and hitting somebody. Path to Exile, another target exile card. So exile target creature. Its controller may have, its controller may search his or her library for a basic land card. Put that card onto the battlefield tapped, then shuffle his or her library. So get rid of a creature. Yeah, they get a land, but it comes into play tapped, so they can't really utilize it until their next turn. And it's exile, so that gets around indestructible. And Gridlock, X and a blue. Tap X, target non-land permanents. This is again in there to help RHODA out. I tap whatever resources I feel is reasonable. Tap, usually these are coming for creatures. Tap some creatures, and then help RHODA get bigger. That's the purpose of it being in here. Fun card to play around. And we're moving on to the sorceries. This is the final stack of cards we're going to be talking about here for the deck tech. First one up here is the highest CMC card I have in my deck, which is 8, 6, and 2 white. Vanquish the Horde. Came out in Midnight Hunt. I love this card. If anybody likes the card Blasphemous Act for red, this is pretty much almost the exact same thing, but for white. This spell costs 1 less to cast for each creature on the battlefield. Destroy all creatures. This is actually, in my opinion, a little bit better than Blasphemous Act, because Blasphemous Act only does 13 damage to each creature, so if you just happen to have a massive creature out there on the board, it'll live. This thing just says, nope, just get rid of all of them. Obviously, this is destroy, so it's not exile, so indestructible will stay. But the fact that you most likely are only going to be paying the 2 white to destroy all creatures, solid card. Love it. Supreme Verdict, 1, 2 white, and a blue. Supreme Verdict can't be countered. Destroy all creatures. Another board wipe in here. I do find myself at times with with having a limited amount of creatures to keep for protection, and usually when you're playing stacks, people like to team up on you, which is fine. It's part of the game. But destroy all creatures. Got to get rid of those things if there's too many of them out there. Another board wipe, Divine Reckoning, 2 and 2 white. Each player chooses a creature they control, destroy the rest, and then you can flashback it for a 5 and 2 white. Flashback pretty much this card's in your graveyard. You pay that 7 mana, and you can play it from your graveyard, and then you exile it. Fun board wipe to have. Solve the Equation, 2 and a blue. I love this card. It's one of my favorite recent cards that has come out recently. It was kind of overlooked at first, and then as people started playing with it more and more, it's just an amazing card. Search your library for an instant or sorcery card, reveal it, put it into your hand, then shuffle. This is pretty. It's a tutor. You're going to tutor up an instant or sorcery card, usually whatever you need, whether it's a board wipe or just a counter spell, or whatever. You put something fun into your hand. Best part is if it's a counter spell, now your opponents know you have it, so they're going to be cautious about playing things, or they're going to try and play something to goad out that counter spell to try and get you to counter it. And you just you can either counter or you just okay, I'll wait. It's a really fun card, kind of like playing poker. It's really fun to play with. Idyllic Tutor, 2 and a white. Search your library for an enchantment card. Reveal it, put it into your hand, then shuffle your library. I know what you're thinking. This deck doesn't really revolve around enchantments. But the enchantments I do have in here, again, help me get that Pillow Fort thing going with the stacks abilities. That's why it's in here. Secret Rendezvous, 1 and 2 white. You and target opponent each draw 3 cards. One of my, again, another favorite white card from recent sets, Strixhaven. It's white draw, which is not very common. It is a fun card to have. You and that opponent get to draw 3 cards, so maybe you can make a friend. I actually use this to make friends with the Zakama player in the tournament game I play with. I knew Zakama was probably going to become my direction soon. I was like, look, and I had just targeted her previously the turn before for some decent damage, and I was like, okay, Zakama just hit the board. I need to try not to be eaten alive, so let me go ahead and let her draw 3 cards. Maybe she won't swing at me. Maybe she wasn't really trying to target me, but she drew the 3 cards from me, and I got left alone for like 2 turns without even making a deal. So it was pretty awesome play. Ponder for 1 blue. Look at the top 3 cards of your library, then put them back in any order. You may shuffle, draw a card. So if you look at the top 3 and none of those are what you need or what you want, go ahead and shuffle them away and then go ahead and draw a card. You get to put them back in any order. So if you do find something that you like, just put that back on top and then you get to draw it. And then Preordained, last card to showcase here. 1 blue, scry 2, then draw a card. Again, scry lets you look at the top. This one's scry 2, so you get to look at the top 2. You get to put any number of them on the bottom if you don't like them, and then you draw. So if you end up having a card you like and one you don't like, the one that you don't like goes to the bottom. The one you like stays on top, and you get to draw it. Really good, fun card to have. Helps you try and find that answer. And everything else is just lands. I'll go ahead and kind of just rifle through them for you real quick. Obviously, Command Tower, maybe Landscape, Reliquary Tower. I run a Vivid Creek. I was a really big fan of the Vivid lands, but as the more I play with them, I'm not really too fond of them. They do come in tap, which takes a turn to play them. And then you can tap it for a blue, or you can remove a counter from it, and you only get 2 counters on them when it comes into play. Remove a counter, and then it becomes a color of your choice. Fun cards to have, kind of techy. It's the only one I have. I used to have the white one as well, but as I'm progressing as a player, I'm realizing these cards aren't as good as I thought they were. Irrigated Farmland, it's a white-blue. I can also cycle it. Mystic Gate allows me to tap a white or a blue, and then I can get any combination of white, white, blue, white, or blue, blue. Fun card. Hallowed Fountain, this is one of the shock lands. Port Town, really fun card to have. Nimbus Maze allows me to tap for any color I need. Skycloud Expanse allows me to tap that one, to tap it to get a blue and a white, kind of like the Azorius Signet. Prairie Stream, Azorius Chantry, taps for white and blue. And then everything else in here is just your basic blue and white mana. In all my decks, I like to have, it's kind of my little fun number for mana, is 37. I like to run 37 lands and 63 cards in the deck. That is including the commanders, obviously. It's just my preferred preference. I tend to have more fun with that number. I'm able to draw mana at a pretty regular basis and not really hardly ever get mana stuck. It does happen every once in a while. The only time I've ran more lands in a deck is when the deck was a landfall deck, obviously, because you want those lands to hit. But 37 is pretty much my magic number. It's the number of lands I run in pretty much every single one of my decks now. I think all of them actually. It's just my personal number. Maybe give it a shot, see how it works for you. You know, most people tend to run 40 or around that 40 range. I just took those 3 lands out. I'm able to put 3 more fun cards to play within. I had a buddy who would tend to get mana stuck quite a bit. I kind of recommended the number. He tested it out, and it actually worked a little bit more synergistic when he got those extra mana in there. I think he only ran 34. Yeah, so that's that, guys. Thank you for joining me for this deck tech. This was my RHODA and TIMIN deck. Again, the name of my deck is Tap Tap Revolution. It's just a fun deck to play with. Again, one of my favorite decks to play with. I look forward to playing with it again, possibly in a tournament here in the future. And you may even see this in a gameplay video, hopefully soon, when we can start getting those going. It is a mean deck to play with, but I do love it. Some people hate it. But that's that, guys. Again, thank you, and I hope to see you guys next time. Okay, guys, that was the deck. I hope you guys enjoyed it. As you guys saw, TIMIN and RHODA, really awesome commanders. It does have that stacks mechanic to it. Blue-white is probably one of my favorite color pairings. It's not a lot of people's favorites just because it kind of takes a while to get ramped up and get going. But once it does, it is oppressive. It is mean. It comes at you quick. It comes at you hard. And if you don't really have an answer for it, or if you think you do, I'm just going to go ahead and counter it, as you guys saw with some of the counters I had in that deck. I hope you guys enjoyed. And as always, please hit that bell, subscribe, share it with some friends, and stay lethal.